The Avatar State, one of the most powerful abilities in the Avatar franchise, but which showcase of the ability was the most powerful? Let's figure it out. Hey folks, welcome to the Geek Talk. Today let's discuss and count down the most impressive uses of the Avatar State from Avatar 1 all the way to Avatar Korra. Before we get into this in earnest, this list is mostly based on that which can be applied in an active use of bending, as opposed to the Avatar's more esoteric abilities like taking and giving bending. That said, some of those achievements will be listed in my honorable mentions. But without further ado, let's get right into the list. In the Rise of Kyoshi novel, the first time Kyoshi discovers that she herself was the Avatar, she pulls a massive column of earth from the seafloor, a column large enough to lift an entire ship to one side. The book describes the experience as wooden planks being pulled from their frame as easily as a paper off a kite. And not just one ship, but several ships from a criminal organization. Just the wave of water this act displaced afterward alone was enough to sweep pirates, shatter crates, and force Pirate Queen Tagata on the defense. Keep this feat in mind for later because Kyoshi definitely takes it to a whole other degree further in her Avatar career. Second up, we have one feat that I think gets a bit downplayed by the fanbase, and that's Korra fighting through Mercury poisoning while in the Avatar state and facing off against an opponent in Zahir who had achieved unassisted flight. The story is simple. In the final episode of Book 3 of Legend of Korra, the Red Lotus infused Avatar Korra with mercury poisoning in an attempt to bait out the Avatar state so that they could kill her and end the Avatar cycle in the process. To really understand how significant it is that Korra resisted the poison as long as she did and still maintained fighting form, we have to look at real-world examples. The best one I could find was a scientist named Professor KW who dealt with organic mercury during one of her testing periods. During the time, she was wearing medical gloves and a mere 2 drops fell on the back of her hand. Later, she would find her balance disturbed and she walked into walls constantly and could no longer drive herself to work. All of that with just 2 drops of mercury falling on the back of her protected, gloved hand. Keeping that in mind, the poison used against Korra was much more significant, somewhere closer to a handful of ounces, if not more, to her exposed and unprotected skin, far more than 2 little drops. That said, the level of resistance and durability showcased in her fight against Zahir while being poisoned by so much mercury gives this feat way more clarity. Sure, the feat isn't one of great power or great precision, but it is an astronomically significant showing in terms of utter fortitude. Next up, we have a dual showcase of the Avatar state between Roku and Aang, though, of course, this is more on the back of Roku than Aang. In the episode aptly titled Avatar Roku, a 2-parter in the Winter Solstice arc, Roku essentially possesses Avatar Aang to help defeat Zhao and the Fire Nation soldiers who had him trapped inside Roku's temple. This showing is impressive for 2 reasons. First, in a showcase of utter control. Utilizing the fire that was used against him by the Fire Nation soldiers, Roku returns their attacks, forcing Zhao and his soldiers to stumble back, while at the same time having the precision to melt away the chains binding Aang's friends without harming them. The level of control that had to be applied for that firebending is extremely impressive, and the reason this feat finds itself on my list. But it doesn't stop there. Control and precision are all well and good, but there needs to be power behind an avatar as well. After maintaining control of the situation, Roku pulls lava from directly under the temple, completely obliterating the entire structure and showing us that a fully realized avatar using the avatar state is nothing to play with. I'll also give a brief honorable mention of a similar feat Avatar Roku showed to us in the Escape from the Spirit World online game, where he also destroyed the temple and uplifted lava from a volcano. After the passing of Sozin's Comet and after his battle with Phoenix King Ozai, Aang displays an impressive use of the Avatar state by pretty much bending the entire ocean to put out the fires on the western coast of the Earth Kingdom. This one is pretty self-explanatory, or rather self-evident, in why it finds itself on the list. You know, whenever I rewatch The Last Airbender, especially the episodes where the kids seem so tired and so hungry, I always think there was one thing they always needed: A Japanese treat kit box from Bokksu. Yes, this is a sponsored video, and you all know I don't do too many of these, but I do enjoy the snacks from Bokksu. But what is it? Bokksu is a premium Japanese snack box that delivers straight to your doorstep. Every month, there is a new theme like Mochi 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 or Sakura Spring. When I went to Japan, the best thing about the place wasn't its shrines or towers or even its historical sites. Legit, the thing that I think about the most in my dreams are their convenience stores and their snacks. That said, what Bokksu offers is something that can't be found in a typical Japanese convenience store or online catalog. They work with family-owned businesses across the country, which I think is really dope. Not just because of the exclusivity and the savory flavors that are not easily found, but because you really do get to learn about a particular region's snack palette, informing you while also satisfying your sweet tooth. And I know what you're asking yourself. Antoine, how much is this all going to cost me? The reason Team Avatar went hungry on their trip is because they didn't have a lot of money. Well, I'm happy to say that if you use my code AntoineBandele10 and link, which can be found in the description box below, you get 10% off, a savings of $47 for your very own authentic Japanese subscription box from Bokksu. Don't miss out on this amazing snack journey through Japan, and if you're in the US, shipping is completely free. So go ahead and get a box, help feed Team Avatar, and well, not just Team Avatar, but me as well. Seriously, using the code helps me out a ton, and you all know how fickle YouTube ad revenue can be. So if you wanted to throw some support my way and feed your soul with Japanese yummies, hit up that link with that code. Alright, back to the avatars. Though brief, fans have always pointed to this very short showcase from Avatar Yang Chen. In the opening episode of Book 2, The Last Airbender, Roku explains the Avatar state to Avatar Aang, speaking to the great power that avatars possess. We see feats from every modern past life, including the previous air nomad avatar Yang Chen, where she creates a wind gale so strong it changes the directions of the clouds and rushes over an entire meadow and forest. In the Kyoshi novels, it's explained that the reason Avatar Kuruk's lifespan was so short is because of his decade-long battle with the dark spirits seeping through the physical world from the spirit world. I go far more in depth about this in this video, but what's most impressive about this achievement to me is Kuruk's fight with Father Glowworm, the original spirit responsible for the fissures between the two worlds. We never get an exact figure of how long the two fought each other, but we do know that it was well over 3 days and 3 nights, as earlier in the story we come to find out that false avatar Yoon fought Father Glowworm for around that amount of time in the spirit world, a Father Glowworm that was much weaker than the one that Kuruk fought decades prior. So conservative estimates would put the original fight between Kuruk and Glowworm in the range of a week or more. In the novel, the fight is described to be so powerful that it created a gaping hole in the boundary between realms, where Glowworm is said to be stronger than the other dark spirits Kuruk had fought before, and where Kuruk was simply too stubborn to die. General Old Iron is a giant humanoid spirit who protected Lady Teenhai during the era of Rava. After his friend passed away centuries later, he went on a rampage against the people that caused Teenhai's death, though he later relented after striking a deal with Avatar Yang Chen. In 102 AG, General Old Iron rose again and threatened to destroy the city when the land had been defiled by humans and his old armor had been stolen. After being vanquished by Avatar Aang, he permanently left the shore surrounding the Earth Kingdom city, frustrated with the idea that humans only sought to dominate. In his fights against Avatar Aang and Yang Chen, Old Iron forced both avatars to lay down all their best bending feats, with Avatar Aang even creating a giant rock structure to match Old Iron in the comic book series named The Rift. At the end of Book 1, Avatar fans got to witness one of the grandest displays of power right at the start of the show. In fact, it wasn't until Book 3 of Avatar during Sozin's Comet that we would see something that would stand up to that level of power, which is really crazy if you think about it. We don't actually see the Avatar state fully used all that often in the series, which is good. Of course, I'm talking about Koizilla, which is actually the canon name for this infusion of Avatar Aang and Law, the ocean spirit, at least according to the art of the animation books. When Fire Nation laid siege to the Northern Water Tribe, they were easily disbanded by the Water Giant, and later, Koizilla would go on to get rid of Moonslayer Zhao, who we'd later see in the Fog of Lost Souls. To say the least, the Fire Nation could not stand up to the giant water monster, and with all that great power, I do ask you this question. Koizilla, an infusion of a not yet fully realized avatar and Law, or a fully realized avatar? Who do you think would win? Sound off in the comments below. And also, take this time to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. There are a bunch of you who are not, so, maybe consider it. We do avatar videos here and such. But next on our list, we have an even more impressive display of the Avatar state, the very act of containing Vaatu, one of the most ancient and destructive entities in the lore within an elemental ball. Juan and Korra end up making this look easy, but when you really think of it, what they're doing is not child's play. Vaatu was around well before humanity, outlived only by the great lion turtles. What's more, Vaatu was the very reason the barrier between humans and spirits were broken to begin with, thousands of years before Katara and Sokka found Aang in the iceberg. That is a lot of power to just simply contain in an elemental ball. True, it was the combined strength of the human avatar and Rava that trapped Vaatu, but that's a lot of power to contain for just one spirit. Sozin's Comet graced us with a very unique circumstance, an avatar who was not only boosted by the Avatar state, but by the Comet as well. Once Aang got his head right in his fight against Ozai, he showcased great use of the Avatar state, particularly with his firebending. Before entering the Avatar state, Ozai had Aang on his back foot, with Avatar Aang having no real defense outside of lightning redirection. But once the Avatar state stepped into the arena, all Ozai could do was try to evade and fly away. This next showcase we have is completely inferred, as we never actually see the feat happening, only its aftermath. But in the Shadow of Kyoshi book, it reads, Kyoshi recognized the telltale marks of destruction well. This was Yang Chen's island. It was the same place Karuk and his companions had gone so he could practice going into the Avatar state for the first time. Maybe they didn't know, or maybe they'd chosen a location associated with Yang Chen to receive spiritual assistance from the Great Air Avatar. But Karuk, in his lapse of control, had destroyed the atoll and sunk it below the waves. Yes, you heard that correctly. Karuk sunk an entire island under the waves. One can only imagine what sort of power he unleashed during that time of his training, but we do know that it was grand enough to level an entire landmass. Now, this is indeed impressive, but there's one other feat that might beat it out. During the Promised comic books, where Zuko asked Aang to kill him if he ever turned bad like his father, the former Fire Lord, a conflict breaks out between the people of the Yudao Fire Nation colony. During the exchange, Aang failed to mitigate the tug-of-war between the Earth Kingdom, Fire Nation, and the colonists, so we had to bust out some pretty epic maneuvers, lifting and separating the entire town using mostly earthbending while also using airbending flight to save Zuko. Now, we've seen volcano bending before, or at least lava bending in the form of Roku when he destroyed the Fire Sage Temple on his home island, but we also briefly saw another avatar manipulate lava within a volcano. For the longest time, Avatar fans referred to him as Avatar Jafar, until he was finally named in the Avatar Kyoshi novels, which you should totally read, and I talk about more in this video. Long story short, his name is now Avatar Zito. The reason his achievement with lava is higher than Roku's previous feat is mostly due to distance. When Roku was possessing Aang and calling up lava from beneath his temple, he was much closer to the source, whereas Avatar Zito is likely 100, 200, maybe even 300 or more yards away from the volcanoes he pulls lava from. Moreover, Avatar Zito pulls from 4 volcanoes rather than just the one in Roku's case. Everyone knows this grand achievement. It's what put Avatar Kyoshi on the map and gave home to the future Kyoshi warriors. After the grand conflict that was Chin the Conqueror's desire to conquer the whole damn world, Avatar Kyoshi finally put her foot down, pun intended, and put a stop to him. But she didn't stop there. Chin and his whole mess gave Kyoshi such a headache that she said F it to everything and decided on a whim to create her own whole-ass island. I mean, do I really have to explain why this made it so high on the list? Kyoshi does what Roku did with lava, what Yang Chen did with air, and what Kyoshi had been doing with earth for her entire career. Alright, let's move on to the honorable mentions. We have Kyoshi versus Zhu Ping An, where Kyoshi basically tanks a bunch of lightning. This was mostly due to her armor that she had from her mom, but the crazy thing is how she kills Zhu Ping An by lifting him in the air and letting him fall to his death. Next up, we also have Aang resisting bloodbending when he was fighting against Yakone in the flashback. This, of course, is significant because we know that the only other type of bender who can resist bloodbending is a strong water bender, but we see the Avatar state can also subvert bloodbending as well. And of course, we have to mention Aang taking Ozai's bending and Korra restoring bending to the benders of Republic City. This, of course, isn't something that we would see in any kind of fight. You can't really energy bend, at least not from what we've seen outside of Vaatu's energy beams. But it is significant to be able to take someone's bending away entirely, so much so that a person like Amon was attempting to do that himself, though via bloodbending, not the Avatar state. And next up, we have the Dark Avatar Unalaq / Vaatu ripping out Rava from Avatar Korra. People don't really think about this all that often, but it is a significant thing to just straight up rip someone's spirit out of their body. Sure, yeah, not a fighting mechanic, not some huge fireball, not some huge display of earth bending, but it is quite crazy that you could just rip out someone's soul. Pretty powerful, I would say. So, as you saw with my honorable mentions, there was quite a few uses of energy bending, the source of all bending, the purest essence given by the lion turtles. There is no greater feat than what Korra achieved in Republic City when facing off against Kuvira's mech, in my opinion. After the great debacle that was Kuvira's mech laying waste to Republic City, the cannon gets dislodged from the mech and goes nuts, forcing Korra to stop it with her bare hands, her bare hands which are imbued with spiritual energy. The result was an explosion akin to a nuclear combustion, which creates a whole new spirit portal right in the heart of Republic City, making this easily the most impressive use of the Avatar state. And that's it. Do you agree that these are some of the most powerful uses of the Avatar state? Do you think a certain achievement was left out? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, peace, love, and remember, be water, my friends.